This episode was created on the day of the 10-year anniversary of the death of Michael Brown Jr., an unarmed black teenager shot and killed by a police officer in Ferguson, Missouri. Story Stitchers hosted a youth empowerment summit at the ZACK Theatre and held a discussion with Branden Lewis, Emeara Burns, and other youth leaders about police and youth rights and community and personal trauma, with guests Dr. Julie Gary, Behavioral Health Bureau Chief for the City of St. Louis, Officer Chassit Hickman of St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department, and Tamika Butler, MED LPC from BJC HeathCare.
Come stop and take a trip down on my block, where you see hidden potential, young minds sharper than Ginsu, and ain't afraid to speak their mind if they got something against you. We standing with you, we tackle issues like civic pride. Hate will cease to exist, let's put our differences aside. From my side to your side, from Dutchtown to South Side, from Penrose to North Side, from Benton Park to Old North, the West End to West Side. We blessed when we step out, we stand down, rise up, stand together, wise up.
This is StitchCast Studio, produced by St. Louis Story Stitchers in St. Louis, Missouri.
Our StitchCast has a conversation with community leaders about the relationship between police and the people. In this episode of StitchCast Studio.
They say who that, but you already knew that. That be them story stitches, story stitches, story stitches, story stitches, story stitches.
So obviously there are more questions, but I think this is a good time to open the questions for the floor. Is there anybody out there that has questions?
I guess my question is I know you mentioned that the city is kind of short-staffed in a lot of areas. Are there incentives or things that are being offered for people to join those areas, particularly officers?
That's perfect. We actually have Sergeant Perry here, who is our recruitment officer. I can't see, it's really dark, but he's like somewhere in this.
I'm right here.
Okay.
Oh, hey,
Can you raise your hand?
Can you step in the light a little bit? Do we need to bring the house lights up?
Yeah, there he is.
Can we bring the house lights up for a second?
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
How you feeling?
Well, good. How you doing?
Good to see you again.
Good to see you as well. Absolutely. I did a podcast before with them, which was amazing. So, to answer your question though, one thing that a lot of people really don't realize is that after COVID, a lot changed when it comes to staffing for any organization. This includes the police department. So after that, the workforce kind of decreased at that point. Okay, and so in our region, as it stands, it's kind of like a race to hire as many police as you can. So imagine us being an organization similar to like CVS, who competes with Walgreens or who competes with other stores, where our police department competes with other departments to hire the most qualified candidates. So with that, we have to offer as much as we can to those who would like to work in the city. So one thing that we actually recently just signed a MOU or a memo of understanding is for police officers to go to UMSU free of charge. So you can receive a bachelor's or a master's degree free of charge. So I think that's amazing. That's a huge incentive that we have. Another incentive is paid training. We also have no residency requirements, so you can live outside of the city if you wish to. We have a cadet program, which we offer to young adults who are seeking employment with the police department. So there's a lot of things that we want to create and put together to incentivize people to want to come and work for our police department. So
beautiful.
Those are just a few.
Thank you.
Fire. And we can actually keep the mic out there for the next question.
So I had a question.
Sure thing. I'm sorry.
I had a question. So one thing that I wanted to ask you guys is, one thing that we like to talk about a lot is how can we convince, persuade, or to get people to wrap their heads around how we should just not commit acts of violence against one another. That's one thing that I think separates our community from one another, is that we harm and we destroy one another, when in reality, if we just kind of minimize that, I think the community can come together a lot better. So what's your thoughts on how to reach out to the youth and to kind of get them out of that mindset of harming each other versus helping and encouraging each other? So
I would say right now I work in a daycare with children as low as 3. And at that age, you learn how we start to gain different behaviors and different things. And one of the things I've found is that vulnerability is one of the keys to working with children. But also, it's also a key to working with a lot of range of people, because we often come into society with this notion of danger, of hostility, of competition, all of these different things. Resources not being a lot, and so an authority figures seemingly trying to get over. And so vulnerability allows a person to see the individual behind the badge or behind the title and everything of that nature. Even with me being, I'm in the military. I've been in the military for about 6 years now, and when my sergeants are able to be vulnerable with me about how they're doing throughout the day and all of that, it allows me to feel more open to sharing with them certain things. So I feel that it's vulnerability, especially with a lot of the notions around there being conflict between different generations. It's because of a lack of vulnerability. And so that vulnerability being open and being honest and being as authentic as possible about what's going on, how you feel, and what is it that you truly need.
Yeah, my bad. I agree though, 100%, because without vulnerability, it's impossible to think we can build community, to build a safe space where people want to support each other and want to help one another, so I definitely agree with you.
I would say that I do agree that a lack of vulnerability adds to the problem, but I also think it's important to differentiate. In my opinion, a lack of vulnerability is more of a symptom of the problem than the actual cause of the problem. A lot of people aren't vulnerable because they don't find it safe to be vulnerable. And in a lot of neighborhoods and situations that the people that we're asking to be vulnerable live in, that's akin to asking them to get killed. You know what I'm saying? Where they're from, like vulnerability is a detriment to the lifestyle that they live and whatnot. So I do think that it's important that we get to the the actual disease as opposed to the symptoms of the disease, and even the harming each other and killing each other is more of a symptom than it is the actual disease. It's a response to the conditions that they live in. So when we talk about gang violence and things like that, right, very seldom are people introduced to gangs when they 20 or 25 or 22 or 23. Like, it starts at a really early age, and a lot of them are really like born into this type of lifestyle. And even if you one of the few that don't really want to get into that, if you on the block and the only people that seemingly have some money, or the only people that seemingly have the means to protect themselves are the gangbangers, and it's one or two people that don't gangbang, but they also don't have nothing going for themselves. As a younger person, it's hard to see the value in not gangbang. You know what I'm saying? Like that's part of the thing. Like, they get to them when they're young, when they're impressionable. And so the answer to changing that mindset, I think, is a very, very complex issue and will require years of peeling layers back and whatnot, because the killing, the lack of vulnerability, the violence, the anger, and even the rap music that, a lot of us see as a cause. I'm not one of those people, by the way, but even the rap music is more of a symptom of the disease as opposed to being the disease itself.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's that time again. Time for another StitchCast Studio Arts Interlude. That's right, let's pick the city up. This week, we have a Story Stitch's original song entitled, It's Not Okay.
If you see your gun, get away, stop pulling them out. It could be a play gun, don't stay and find out. Get away from it, run from it, tell somebody ASAP. You better run from it, get somewhere you safe at.
Gotta look around cause everybody gangbang. On the run with a bad name, not enough where I'm from is the same thing. Gotta run to the cause they gun banging. Victim made the news cause he got a gun. A couple shots in the air, now he gotta run. Not knowing that the gun had a murder on it. Now you holding it around with no insurance on it. Got the boys on your head cause they know you done it. Now you nervous claiming no, you ain't did nothing. But deep inside that you know that you hear something. It's not enough where I'm from, it's the same thing. Gun slanging, body lanking, ain't a shame, ain't it? Welcome to my world, a picture but you can't paint it. They think it's okay. They think it's okay.
The block is hot, why you posted where your squad stay?
They think it's okay. They think it's okay.
You cool, put it down, we ain't with that gunplay.
They think it's okay. They think it's okay.
The block is hot, why you posted where your squad stay?
They think it's okay. They think it's okay.
You cool, put it down, we ain't with that gunplay. Put the gun down and watch them pick it up. They burn the city down, so we gon' lift it up. If this for you, you all good, then what you clapping for? To get the guns out the street, that's what I'm rapping for. So you pick up the burner and that's your first pick. They tell you keep your mouth closed, cause only punks snitch. You keep it G, you keep it real, then what you killing for? They post it up in them gateways, you're by the corner store. They see you everywhere, and you don't even care. Yeah, we just looking for the truth, why you picking dirt? See no evil, hear no evil, what you slacking for? Yeah, you ain't worried, you ain't scary, what you packing for?
They think it's okay. They think it's okay.
The block is hot, why you posted where your squad stay?
They think it's okay. They think it's okay.
You cool, put it down, we ain't with that gunplay.
They think it's okay. They think it's okay.
The block is hot, why you posted where your squad stay?
They think it's okay. They think it's okay.
You cool, put it down, we ain't with that gunplay. See your gun get away, stop pointing them out. It could be a play gun, don't stay and find out. Get away from it, run from it, tell somebody ASAP. You better run from it, get somewhere you safe from.
I agree with both of you. So while I am a behavioral health bureau chief, I work in public health in general. And a lot of the symptoms that we're seeing are related to years and years and years of inequity, historical events that have happened here before Mike Brown, social determinants of health in neighborhoods that have been the same and had the same level of resources for years. And so these are the things we talk about in the Department of Health and things that we try to change. The city budget only allows us a certain amount of money to combat those things, but they're things we talk about on a daily basis. It's not just the health outcomes. It's like, okay, what about these neighborhoods are causing higher overdose rates, are leading to people not being able to get out, are leading to people not being able to have economic mobility. I would also say from a vulnerability standpoint, I love that, because that is why I say things like when I'm first up here that I'm a widow, because people need to know your story. And when you tell your story and you talk about loss, whatever it looks like for you, when you talk about your trauma, it does open up that vulnerability in yourself and makes people want to share their story with you, because they know you're not just sitting behind some title or some, certain way you dress or act, but that you have a story that's important to share. And so I want each and every one of you to know, like, your story is important, and that you can use your story, no matter how good or bad it is, to influence the world in a positive way. And if you're wondering how you can do that, I'm more than happy to sit down and talk with you about how you might be able to spin it in a positive way to impact the world and to impact your neighborhood and to impact your peers that are sitting next to you. But I love the fact that you said, like, hey, it's a symptom, but it's also about being vulnerable. And both of those things are so true.
Yeah. Key, you mentioned, like, with the gang affiliation starting young, you said working with 3-year-olds. Early intervention is the best prevention. This is where it starts. This is where these things are formed. So if we can catch earlier and teach kids how to manage their emotions, because when I see things like that, the violence, my mind as a clinician always goes to, why was this your reaction to someone calling you a name? Why was this your reaction to someone stepping on your shoes? And you mentioned the layers. It goes so much deeper than that. So we really need to break the stigma, especially for people of color, about receiving mental health treatment and services. And it is for everyone. And when you see, your child struggling, or if you feel like you are struggling, it's okay to get help. It's okay to get the support tools to learn how to deal with those emotions in a healthy manner. And that could be just one of the gazillion puzzle pieces that starts breaking this system.
Wow, that's good. That's good.
I think there was more questions in the audience.
Yes, there was.
Too.
Yes, let's go to more questions.
Thank you all for answering that question too.
So the question I have for as individuals working in behavioral health and law enforcement, how would you like to be perceived by the community, and what can you do to influence that perception?
I would like to be perceived as someone who, it kind of echoes things I've already said, who wants to know your story, who sees you and hears you, and who is here to provide you with, help you understand the resources that are available to you. And the way that I do that right now is I try to have myself and my team in the community. Right now it's about 4 days a week. Our goal is 2 days a week, but we're always in the community a lot more. So we show up at neighborhood meetings. We showed up at Pride St. Louis. We show up at lots of community events, schools, any age group we can impact at this point, and tell our own stories and teach people coping skills and help them see that what they're feeling is okay, and give them some healthy options on things they can do when they are feeling that way. So those are some of the things that I do.
And for behavioral health, I would love for it to be seen as a safe space, as a space for every and anybody that needs it. Again, going back to breaking that stigma, that we are there to help anyone in need, that there's no shame in receiving support and receiving help. When we know better, we should do better. And this is a way that we do better, when we can recognize that myself, my loved one, my child is struggling and I need to get help. There are so many behavioral health organizations here in St. Louis and the communities there for you. And so I want us to be perceived as the helpers to the community, to the people that we serve. And like, again, that we're available and we're there for everybody.
As a police officer, I would say I would want to be perceived as a human. I think that a lot of the time, people see like this badge, and they see the gun, and they see like us in the uniform, they see us getting out of our truck that says St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department, and they forget that we take all of this off. We leave the car on the parking lot, we get in our personal car, and we take this uniform off. I have a son, my son is here. I have a 13-year-old son. I have a 5-year-old son. We're humans. We take this uniform off and we're just like you. So as a police officer, people still have to understand that we're humans. We go through trauma. We see trauma every day. Be patient with us. We want to be perceived as humans too.
Beautiful. My question was, I know y'all was talking about behavioral health. What would you be saying some good practices is to I guess not to react on your emotions on times? Let's say I'm having a bad day and then someone comes towards me. How do I not act on that?
My first thing would be, it's great if you can recognize that in that moment that I'm not in the space for this. Give yourself permission to step back. Give yourself permission to walk away. It is a choice to engage, and you do not have to if you're not in that space. You can ask for that. You can tell them verbally, I'm not for this today, I'm not able to do this right now. Whatever verbiage works for you and who that person is. But give yourself permission to say, this is not the space that I'm in. I need to take a step back for me and do that. I think people underestimate the strength it takes to step away and walk away from situations versus just react. So one, by you being able to recognize that that's where you at, you're already ahead of the game. Understanding this is not a good day for me, but also give yourself permission to say, I don't have to react to everything. And I can step away, I can breathe, I can walk away, I can call someone, I can play that, whatever it is that works for you, give yourself permission to do that.
I love that answer. And one of the ways I check in with myself is I do it first thing in the morning. Okay, so we all have life stressors. So I kind of know when I first wake up, I do a couple things. I'm really into my faith, so I hop into the Bible for a few minutes, but I also do this kind of emotional check-in. And there are lots of apps that can help you do that at the beginning of your day. So you kind of know, based on the week's events, it's been a stressful week for me at work. And so I know today, I knew I had this today as well, which this event is meaningful for me in a lot of ways. So I felt inspired by it, but I also it's a little heavy, right? Because it's the 10-year anniversary of Mike Brown. So you kind of know, and I know I have this big employee event at the end of the day that's going to involve me to be kind of stern, and I'm not always like that. I tend to be more of a friendly kind of leader. And so I knew today was going to be stressful. So today, for me, anything else that like hits my phone that could cause stress, or any phone call I get or anything else, I've got to like be careful how I interact with those things. So I think number one, like she said, check in with yourself. If you have a method to do that every day, that's great. Number two, she mentioned coping skills. So there are lots of lists out there that you can Google that'll give you ideas if you're not really sure. Like, I mean, a lot of us know like getting out in nature or exercise or a certain kind of music, or for a lot of you who are artists here, doing art, right? That's a stress reliever for you. So understanding kind of the place you're at, and then knowing these are the things I can use to cope with that, and finding just a little niche within your day to do that. If you can do that, that can shift your mood almost instantaneously.
That's a good answer.
I would add something that you can do that a lot of people underestimate is breathing. When you're angry or when you're sad or when you're worried, you breathe in a certain way. And naturally, if you learn how to breathe slowly and evenly, it will bring you back to a place of relaxation. And so there's a lot of different breathing techniques that you can look at that helps to calm down. Like there's one called box breathing, where you breathe in for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, and then you continue that process. And so breathing is a fantastic way. Also, body taps, literally tapping in with yourself and tapping different parts of your body and bringing yourself back to the present moment. Or looking around the room, see if you can find 3 things, seeing if you can hear 3 things, and bringing yourself back into this moment and not in your head.
Those are all, I love all of those. And I think you said them on the podcast we were on before. And a lot of the apps that I just mentioned that allow you to check in with yourself, if you say you're stressed that day, it'll take you through some of those exercises. So I encourage you to go out and look for those free apps that'll allow you to check in with yourself and then take you through some of the exercises he mentioned. And they do work. I use them myself, so.
Thank you.
I don't know about those.
My question was, do y'all feel like being street smart is a necessity for people in the Black community?
Ooh.
I was gonna say yes.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of those things too, you know, they say it's not what you do, but how you do it. Yeah. You know, it's good to have certain understandings, not to walk down the street with certain things all out, like, you know, be flashing your money. You know, like certain things is really good to know, but use it for good. That's all I'll say, is use it for good.
Yeah, I think anything that you learn can either be used for good or bad, depending on, you know, who you are as a person. But yeah, if you live in these poverty-stricken neighborhoods where street activities is prevalent, then yeah, absolutely, I think you should be street smart. You know what I'm saying? Not to, you know what I'm saying, particularly participate, but you gotta play the game that you win. You know what I'm saying? So if I live on it, you know what I'm saying, most of the neighborhoods that I lived on, it was usually one particular house that had most of the guns, most of the drugs and all of that, you know what I'm saying? And being able to recognize the signs for certain things, like when somebody's trying to get over on you or when somebody's trying to manipulate you and certain things like that. Or yeah, not to be too flashy. You know what I'm saying? Like we used to put money in our sock, you know what I'm saying? So you check the pockets, look, I ain't got nothing, bro. You know what I'm saying? So like, yeah, just knowing how to maneuver in the neighborhood that you in, absolutely. Yeah, I think that knowledge is paramount.
I think it's also important to recognize being in survival mode. You shouldn't live in survival mode, but you should be knowledgeable about what's going on and aware of your surroundings.
Absolutely. I agree. That's a good question.
Yeah, I got one more.
Okay.
So, how would y'all recommend teaching emotional intelligence to like younger age groups, you know, especially since emotional intelligence is not something that's, you know, really taught in the Black community. It's something you got to really learn and pick up on. So how would y'all recommend to teach that to kids younger than us?
I would say working with children as low as 3. One of the ways that we teach children emotional intelligence is when they're in, let's say another kid takes the toy and they're crying. And so what we do is first we mirror with our words what they're going through in that moment. So are you sad because he took the toy? Are you angry? What's going on? And being able to, because a lot of time a person has these emotions, but they don't know the words or how to express them or the language around it. So when you reflect back to them these things, they're able to, okay, this is how I feel. Okay, what can we do to make this situation better? And those are usually the ways that I've learned to be able to help with emotional intelligence, because one of the things that is said is that if there's no name for a shade of blue, you don't see it. So you have to start to label and name those things so that it doesn't seem like this big thing, but it's something that you can now manage. So being able to be empathetic enough to identify what the person is going through and help them to learn the language and how to express that in a healthy way.
I will also add that, you don't know what you don't know. And this ain't to put no blame on the generation that came before us. I feel like each generation should solve a few problems, you know what I'm saying? Make the world a little better for the generation coming after you. And granted, basically, start with your kids, you know what I'm saying? And the young people around you. When you have kids, you know what I'm saying? The young people around you, and teaching them how to better express their emotions and better explain their emotions, you know what I'm saying? And understand their emotions. I got a nephew, and he just turned 5, and when he was younger, when he'd get mad, he loved phones, he loved tablets, but when he would get mad, he would throw them. You know, and we had to correct that behavior. Like, that's not a good way to express your anger. Like I'm not mad at you for being mad, but I am mad at the way that you chose to express that, because that's my phone. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so since you want to throw phones, you're gonna go a minute without one. You know what I'm saying? So the next time he upset, he instantly thinks, maybe there's a different way that I should express this anger. It's a generational thing. You know, once you learn better, you know what I'm saying, you should do better and explore those emotions. Explore, like if you, first of all, nobody has the authority or the right to take away your right to feel anything.
Right.
Regardless of what that thing is. You know what I'm saying? So I think, first of all, give yourself permission to feel whatever the thing is that you're feeling. Some emotions get such a bad rep that when we feeling them, we tell ourselves that we're not feeling them because we don't want to be the type of person that feels that particular emotion. You know what I'm saying? But you gotta explore that in order to get to the root of the problem. Again, like we were talking about diseases and symptoms, the emotion is usually a symptom of what the problem is. You know what I'm saying? The emotion itself ain't the problem. So don't treat the emotion like the problem. You know what I'm saying? Explore the emotion so that you can get to the thing that's causing the emotion. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, you know, a lot of that is scary. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people scared to do the self-work or whatnot. You do got to be brave to analyze yourself. You know what I'm saying? That is kind of a brave thing to be able to do. But the work got to be done.
To piggyback off what Branden was saying, I feel like the change starts with you. I would say educate yourself as much as you can and understand those emotions. And then I feel like it naturally flows, and you naturally teach other people how to do that by not only stating it, but implying it through your actions.
That was awesome. And I also like the last point you made. I think also we have to remember that we're not always going to be able to name the emotion, right? So sometimes we just feel off related to a situation, and you might not be able to say, like, I'm angry, I'm sad. So my kids and I have a group text. They're 27, 23, and 19. And the word we use is struggling. I'm struggling today, okay? It could be related to grief because we've gone through loss. It could be related to the challenges they're having in their everyday life. But it's a safe space for us to drop 3 words in, I'm struggling today, and then the rest of us are kind of in check-in mode. And, you know, you can't always say, like, why I'm struggling today. As a matter of fact, there was one day my daughter said, like, I want to stay home from school today. I'm not really sure why I want to stay home from school today. I'm just not feeling okay. I can't really call it sad. And I was like, that's okay. And you're going to stay home? And she was like, well, why am I feeling that way? And I'm like, sometimes there are days when you just don't feel like you can't do life, right? And it's important for yourself to read and say, you know what, today I'm struggling. I need to take a break. whether it's being around your family or you need to take a break by yourself. Sometimes a lot of us helpers have to have those days by ourselves too, because we're always helping. So that's something else I would say is just you're not always going to be able to name it, but you have to read yourself to know, like, I'm not my full self today. If you can go and not be your full self and it's going to be healthy for you, great. If you're not, it's okay to take a break.
I like to say all the time, practice makes permanence. And when we start helping these kids, these little ones, learn how to express themselves in healthy ways, it becomes normal to them. It's nothing to them when we catch it early enough. It's nothing for them to be like, hey, I'm feeling this kind of way. This is what I'm going to do to make myself feel better. Practice makes permanent. So we have to get in the habit of being okay with having those conversations, because sometimes they are uncomfortable, especially for parents when they have their child saying they're feeling a certain way and you as a parent just can't magically make it go away. Or you as a child, your parent just can't magically make it go away. And so sometimes it's hard and it's frustrating. But if we work together, again, just normalizing some of these things, just making it okay to not be okay, as the saying goes, makes it okay to just have a bad day, that's fine. Make those things okay, working through it, okay. All practice, well, what do I need to do? Or normalize all of that. It just becomes our routine. And it's not a question of, well, what do I need to do? Or why am I doing this? You just kick into mode because it's become our normal.
I remember what I was trying to say. So I was also going to add that it's very important while we learn all of this self-help stuff, it's very important to rely on our community to also help us when we don't know what to do. I am a huge advocate of having a therapist. Like, I have a therapist. I love my therapist. I would highly recommend.
And if you are wondering how to access a therapist, I'm going to leave some of my cards in the back. The Behavioral Health Bureau, you can always call us. If you don't have insurance, we can help you get access to a therapist. 988 is also a great number to call or text 24 hours a day. If you're struggling and you're like, I don't want to talk to anyone in person, I just want to talk to someone right now, please use 988. That is a great way to kind of get on the spot counseling. You can even chat with them online if that's something you'd prefer to do. But that's another great resource if you feel like you can't afford a therapist. But I'm telling you, no matter what kind of insurance you have, or if you don't have insurance, we can help connect you to a therapist for free. So I'm going to leave some cards in the back. Please reach out to me if you feel like you need one.
Yes. And BJC has this same-day access that runs Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, where you can schedule an appointment or you can walk in if you're in need of services, and they will do an assessment, an intake, and get you set up with the services that are best for you. We have various options, different levels of care, and they will make sure you're taken care of. So, as she said, reach out to the community. Those services are in your area. They're available. We are here to help you.
Wow. Ladies, thank you so much for those resources. This has been an absolutely amazing conversation. Thank y'all. It is what it is. Thank y'all so much. I think I've learned a lot. I hope that y'all have learned a lot. Everybody under the sound of my voice, I want to thank you for tuning in to another episode of StitchCast Studio. We hope that you found this insightful and that you learned something that you didn't know before we started talking. What's going to happen now is that we're going to take about a 10-minute break. You know what I'm saying? We've been discussing some heavy topics and we've been kind of going for a minute. So we're going to take about a 10-minute break, let people use the bathroom if they need to do that. I do want to let y'all know this is very important. We are not authorized to roam the building, so please don't try to find steps or elevators or go into the other restaurants or other buildings. We are not authorized to be there. We are authorized to be in the theater and we can use the bathroom. So if y'all got to use the bathroom, definitely go ahead and do that. We'll meet back here in about 10 minutes and then we'll check in with Stan Chisholm and keep the party going with a lot more lighthearted topics. So the second half of this will definitely be a lot more lit and uplifting. Thank y'all.
This special edition of StitchCast Studio is supported as part of St. Louis Story Stitcher's 10-year anniversary. Special thanks to Ken and Nancy Kransberg, Carmen and Susan Colangelo, Jane Schaefer in memory of Tom Schaefer, John and Harrison Hagen Hall in memory of Jamila Bowden, and Ted and Joanne Sanditz. Additional support was provided by BJC HeathCare, Honda of Frontenac, Cities United, and St. Louis American. Story Stitcher's creative youth development programs are supported in part by the Lewis Prize for Music's 2021 Accelerator Award. The mission of the Lewis Prize is to partner with leaders who create positive change by investing in young people through music. Additional support for StitchCast Studio and Story Stitcher's programs is provided by the Regional Arts Commission, the City of St. Louis Office of Violence Prevention, in partnership with the St. Louis Board of Aldermen through the 2024-2025 programs to reduce crime among at-risk youth, and Tegna Foundation. St. Louis Story Stitcher Studio, The Center, is supported in part by Kranzberg Arts Foundation, where Story Stitchers is a proud resident organization. Thank you for listening.